Well, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has ordered the mandatory evacuation of people in the eastern Donetsk region, the scene of fierce fighting with Russia. Joining me now live is the Ukrainian Ambassador to Australia, Vasyl Myroshnychenko. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Firstly, where are we at with peace talks here? Has the Ukrainian president pushed hard enough?
There is no discussion of any peace talks at the moment. Russians are waging a war in Ukraine. They're killing Ukrainian people. So we need to evacuate the civilians who are in the eastern parts of Donetsk, because this is a place of hostilities. And people need to be moved to central part of Ukraine, where it's relatively safer. But it's getting very dangerous there. So it's important we can move them to a safer place.
Moscow has suggested that the US and the UK are actually discouraging peace talks as they want to prolong a war. What are your thoughts on this comment?
Well, it's not about discouraging the peace talks. We need to repel the Russians from Ukraine. They need to withdraw from Ukraine, from all territory of Ukraine. And this is when we can start discussing peace talks. At the moment, we need heavy weapons, we need tanks, we need jets, we need long-range missiles to fight the Russians and to kick them out of Ukraine. And only then we can start the negotiations about peace. And that's the whole point. The only reason Russians are insisting on a ceasefire is that they need time to resupply, regroup, and actually mount another assault on Kyiv. That's the only reason why they insist on that. And I hope it's a trap which nobody should fall for.
As you know, there are so many major global challenges that we're dealing with at the moment. Is there a fear that the war in Ukraine is losing attention? And how are Ukrainian authorities trying to keep it front of mind?
Well, look, we don't really need to keep it front of mind. You see what's happening in Ukraine on a daily basis. Just last Friday, Russians have tortured the Ukrainian prisoners of war in Olenivka in the occupied regions of Donetsk. One man got castrated on video, on camera. Then they put all these people in one building and they blew up the building. This is atrocious war crimes, and Russia has done it deliberately. And the world cannot just stand and watch what Russians are doing in Ukraine and what crimes against humanity they are perpetrating. Something needs to be done. And the only way how we can stop this is to arm Ukraine with right weapons, which multiple rocket launchers, which long-range missiles, and good infantry fighting vehicles. That's the only way, because that's how we can actually repel the Russians from Ukraine.
Some military analysts have suggested a Russian takeover of the Donbass region is now inevitable, regardless of how much military aid has been given to Ukraine. Is there a prospect to grant this region autonomy and end the bloodshed, or is that not the option?
Look, many military analysts predicted that Ukraine would fall in 3 days. All of them were wrong. So I wouldn't trust military analysts because they're actually not that good, many of them. So the fact is that we've been fighting for this war for over 5 months. Nobody could predict. Therefore, I wouldn't actually discount our ability to take over Donetsk and Luhansk back, because Ukrainian people who are stuck there are suffering. And the only prospect they can have in free, independent, and strong Ukraine, which will join NATO and which will join the EU. That's the only way out. And people in Donetsk and Luhansk perfectly know it.
Back home in Australia, a Ukrainian refugee who fled to the safety of Melbourne is being refused support to return home and bury her son, who was killed on the front line. Have you at all been briefed on the situation?
Well, she was not refused. I know that the Home Department is currently working on making the arrangement to assist her, because this is really an extraordinary situation. Her son was a politician in Ukraine, activist and a journalist. He was killed in action in Mykolaiv, in southern part of Ukraine, and the mother wants to go and bury the son. And I think the government has responded to her plea for arrangement, and it's now, as we are talking here, I know that she will be having a meeting with the Home Affairs Office, and they are looking for a solution of how best they can assist her.
So is it your understanding that she will be allowed to return back to Australia if she does travel to Ukraine?
Yes, that's my understanding. There are some legal matters which need to be addressed, And but that my understanding is that she will be able to leave the country and then to return to Australia to her relatives in Melbourne.
I want to ask you, what do you make of the criticism the Ukrainian President and First Lady have received of their Vogue photo shoot? Is it appropriate for wartime leaders to pose for women's magazines?
It is absolutely appropriate because look at the audience of Vogue. Vogue has a global audience, and this is phenomenal that any labelist could come to Ukraine and make photographs of the First Lady, who's beautiful, who's courageous, who's extremely smart. And she was able to use that, channel of communication and reach out to the audience, which is reading Vogue. And I think that was a phenomenal story, and everybody loved it. Look, I've heard some of the criticism, but at the end of the day, there are so many different ways how you can tell about this war, and this is one of those avenues that we have. There are different ways. We talk to Sky News. We do social media, you do Vogue, whatever is there is a story, there is an angle, because this war is all-encompassing. It involves every walk of society in Ukraine, including those readers of Vogue.
We have to leave it there. Vasyl Myroshnychenko, we do appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.